India's debt trajectory after the pandemic, center regains control, states struggle to keep pace. India's public debt landscape is entering a phase of cautious stability after the unprecedented fiscal shock of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Economic Survey 2025 to 26 paints a nuanced picture. While the union government has begun methodically rolling back the debt surge accumulated during the crisis year, state governments continue to grapple with uneven fiscal health, limited transparency, and weak market discipline. The pandemic years of fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22 forced Indian government into extraordinary borrowing, pushing public debt to historic highs as emergency spending ballooned and off-budget liabilities were absorbed into formal accounts. Nearly 5 years later, the center balance sheet shows visible improvement according to revised estimates cited in the economic survey. The union government's outstanding liabilities declined to approximately 55.7% of GDP in fiscal year 25, down sharply from the pandemic peak of around 62% in fiscal year 21. This marks a decisive reversal from crisis driven fiscal expansion to consolidation. The union government has emerged as the primary driver of debt correction. It has committed to reducing its debt to GDP ratio to around 50% by fiscal year 31, allowing a narrow tolerance band on 1 percentage point. This target aligns with the broader macroeconomic benchmark that considers a combined public debt ratio of 60%, 40% for the center, and 20% for states as manageable for a large, fast growing economy like India. Rather than returning to the rigid fiscal responsibility and budget management frameworks long criticized 3% fiscal deficit ceiling, the government has pivoted to a medium term debt anchor. The rationale is strategic. Global financial volatility, geopolitical risk, and climate linked economic shocks demand flexibility rather than inflexible legislative constraints. The survey notes that India's fiscal deficit has narrowed substantially from 9.2% of GDP in fiscal year 21 to a targeted 4.4% of in fiscal year 26, with capital expenditure has claimed a large share of total spending. This signals a shift away from consumption heavy crisis responses toward growth oriented investment. One of the survey's most pointed observations concerned the state development loan market. Despite wide fiscal divergence among states, borrowing costs remain largely uniform. This weak differentiation, as the survey describes it, means that fiscally prudent states receive little reward. While India's post-pandemic debt story is one of the partial success, the center has regained control through disciplined consolidation, strategic borrowing, and a more flexible fiscal framework. Yet the broader public debt ecosystem remains vulnerable as long as state finances lag behind and market mechanism remains blunt.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.